What is up everybody, my name is BobaTalks. Welcome to the first of many Gotham theory videos to come, and in this video I'll be talking about how Oswald could have survived his encounter with Edward Nygma. So if you guys do end up enjoying this video, go ahead and hit that like button as I really appreciate it, and let's get into the theory. So in the winter finale of Gotham Season 3, the Penguin was shot by Edward Nygma as an act of revenge for the Penguin killing Isabella. Now since then I've heard split opinions from people saying, oh my god, how could they have killed the Penguin off? And then there's other people like me who are of the opinion that this just simply isn't the case and it won't happen for a number of reasons.
I loved her, Oswald. And you killed her.
So in my mind, they won't kill off the Penguin, and it just appears as though to Ed and the audience that Oswald was sinking to his doom and dying after he was shot. The reasons I have for this are quite simple. They will not kill off Oswald Cobblepot, the Penguin, and the future villain who will come across Batman many times this early on in the show. Now I do know that Gotham are doing their own thing and do relatively have quite a bit of freedom with making their own canon, which they have proved with Jerome's Joker, but trust me on this, they won't eliminate the Penguin this early. Also, one of the producers of Gotham, John Stevens, has actually also talked about the war between Nygma and Oswald and how it will last throughout the whole season, you know, from episode 15 to 22 as well. So I'll read a couple of quotes that he actually said about this. From 15 to 22, it's two people out in the open who used to be friends and now want to destroy one another. That war between them, between two people who are best friends but also at war, plays through the whole season. I feel like if this show survives years and years, they might be apart, but we have to imagine that situations will bring them back together because they are like souls. At the end of the day, these two have more in common than anyone else on the show. They will probably find their way back together, and when they get back together, it will be all the more gratifying because they were apart for each other. So I found that really interesting because the way he's talking now is obviously that Oswald Cobblepot, you know, and Nygma will have a future together in Gotham, whether it be as enemies and possibly coming together to work together in the future. So the question that remains is, just how will he survive the encounter he had with Edward Nygma? There really are only a couple of ways that I can think of this happening. The first way that this can happen is that he washes up ashore like he did in season 1. Now I don't think this is very likely just because it would copy what happened in season 1, and this time he's actually been shot, so he's definitely going to need some help. But who would help him? Well, this leads me on to the second and more likely option, Fish Mooney. Now as for how this could exactly go down, I'm not entirely sure. But to me, this is the most likely option. Oswald spared Fish Mooney and Hugo Strange's life, so with everything that's been happening and with many people wondering if Fish Mooney would return in the second half of season 3, this very well could happen and her and Oswald could rise together. As for how Oswald will survive the gunshot wound, it could be that Fish has been keeping an eye on Oswald ever since her disappearance and witnessed what happens perhaps. And so they could just nurse Oswald back to health with Hugo Strange's help. Now there is a third option which does directly link into what I just said, which could also be a possibility, but it is kind of my least favourite one. In this theory, Penguin does actually die, but gets brought back to life with Fish Mooney's help, but through Hugo Strange bringing him back. This could easily work as the amount of people who have been brought back from death on the show is, you know, a list long, but the reason why I don't want this to happen is because it would be a bit too much for me personally. For Gotham to bring back another person and for that person to be Oswald Cobblepot from the death just seems a little bit too far. In a sense, the parts I do like about this method is that they could bring him back a little bit more disfigured, maybe portray him a bit more like how he looks in the comics, but at the same time I just stand by what I just said. If Hugo Strange ends up resurrecting the Penguin, I will be a bit disappointed because it would just be another resurrection, and in theory literally anyone who dies on the show can always be brought back through this method. I feel like on the show they do need to sort of, even though it will still always be a possibility to bring someone back from the dead, they kind of need to make it really hard to access because, as I just said, if Oswald gets brought back from Hugo Strange's techniques to resurrect people, then literally it doesn't matter who the hell dies because, you know, you can always just bring that person back. Either way, I'm very confident that Fish Mooney will have a strong part to play in Oswald's return in Gotham, and after Oswald forgave Fish earlier earlier in this season, they both might find an ally in each other and then work together to bring themselves up the ladder again in Gotham. Now, if Fish doesn't initially help out Oswald with his return, then there is this other option where people are saying that he could sort of be nursed back to health in the sewers, like the old stories of the Penguin, and this could happen, but I'm more inclined to believe that Fish will definitely have a role or part to play in his return somehow. And when Oswald does eventually, climb up the ladder like he always does, Fish and him will most likely work together to overtake Gotham. And this could very well be the way the season kind of ends, or just implies that they're both going to rise up together. Now, some people are saying that Ed Nygma could have, saved him or brought him back out of the river as soon as he shot him. And I don't really think that's that likely, just because when he shot him, even though there was a slight bit of regret because, a deep, deep part of him does like Oswald as they were friends once, I don't think he'll go back on what he said and, dive in after him. But I do agree with what the producer said and how in the future they will probably find reasons to come back together again because they're so alike. Ultimately, guys, let me know what you think. How do you think Oswald is going to return to Gotham? I believe episode 16 is called How the Penguin Lost His Power, so I don't believe we will see him in How the Riddler Got His Name, but maybe he might get teased at the end of that episode. But if episode 16 is going to be called How the Penguin Lost His Power, then I think this story will be elaborated on quite a lot in that episode. But either way, everyone, I would love to hear your theories on how Oswald is going to return to Gotham, because he definitely is going to return, but just the question is how. If you guys ended up enjoying this video, be sure to go ahead and hit that like button, and if you aren't subscribed to this channel already, maybe even consider subscribing to stay up to date with all things Gotham related. Now, if you are one of my subscribers and you want to stay up to date on everything Gotham, be sure to click that bell button next to the subscribed button to make sure that you're alerted on every single upload so you don't miss out on any. But as always, everybody, this video was so fun to make. Make sure that you don't miss out on the video that I uploaded a couple of videos back on the Lucky Vat. If you want a chance to win the Jonathan Crane Gotham signed card, then be sure to comment on that video and follow Gotham Hub on Twitter. There is still some time to enter that giveaway. If you have any video suggestions on any videos that you want me to make on Gotham, be sure to comment them below in this video. And as always, everybody, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.